Welcome back to The Explainer, and I gotta tell you, there is absolutely zero time to waste today. We are diving directly, and I mean literally, straight into the middle of this text's escalating chaos. We are talking about unfathomable stakes here, absolute structural disaster, and a level of cosmic absurdity that will literally make your head spin. So buckle up because we're jumping straight into the deep end of the riverbed.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right as the tension is at its absolute most terrifying peak in the Great Otter Society, this massive, loud splash violently breaks the silence. It's Pihu. He comes bursting out of the stream, aggressively dragging this huge, waterlogged piece of driftwood right onto the bank, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs, "Did I miss the syllabus update? I'm back!"
To actually grasp why this interruption is so incredibly shocking, we kind of need to look at the environment he just crashed into. The text paints this incredibly vivid picture. The grading room of the Otter elders smelled intensely of damp moss, utter panic, and pure stress sweat. Inside, you've got these ink-stained paws frantically shuffling through stacks of waterproof parchment, trying to tally the Great Otter exams. And meanwhile, outside in the riverbed, the entire anxious community is just floating on their backs, nervously clicking their favorite pebbles together in pure existential dread.
And look, they were terrified for a very good reason. In the universe of this text, getting a 99% on these exams, that was considered a brutal failing grade. The grading curve was mathematically devastating, all because of one very specific reason. The looming threat of global oceanic eviction was completely hanging over their heads. If they failed this architectural test, their entire species was getting kicked out of the water, for sure.
So the absolutely crucial point we need to get straight right now is understanding who exactly is threatening them. The entity causing this universe-breaking threat is Gunareth. And let me be absolutely perfectly clear here, based entirely on the text, Gunareth is an infinitely rich sentient cup of coffee, okay? He is a literal living cup of coffee. He's not a coffee bean, he is definitely not some human billionaire, no way. He is a breathing cup of joe with unimaginable wealth, and he literally holds the fate of the otters in his liquid hands. It's insane.
Which brings us right back to Pihu's chaotic energy. The guy returns completely disregarding the grading room panic. I mean, he's covered in these fading, itchy green spots from the otter pox, boldly claiming the pox couldn't hold him down. The text says he had just been out doing, quote, unrelated Pihu things in a distant stream. And now, completely tone-deaf to the existential dread happening all around him, he's screaming to know the status of the gas-to-marble ratios.
But before anyone can even answer him, the chief elder steps onto the high rock, holding this very serious gold leaf scroll. His whiskers are twitching with profound gravity, and he announces that only 3 otters achieve the perfect Jovian rating, and they are immediately deployed. A tiny, customized pixie-sized submarine surfaces in an indoor infinity pool, and out pop 3 elite engineers wearing tiny hard hats and carrying high-tech blueprints. But guess who's right behind them? It's Pihu. He completely bypassed all the security just so he could aggressively scratch his leftover otter poxage against a $1 million Calicotta marble pillar. The elders were literally praying their webbed feet would tread lightly upon that stone.
And you might be wondering who actually owns this stone. It's Tingo the Pixie. Now, watch how this builds into pure absurdity. The text notes Tingo had a perfectly fine, really lovely 10 BHK house in Kuala Lumpur. But to Gunareth, again, the infinitely rich sentient coffee, that was just a peasant house. So Gunareth gave Tingo this completely cursed 12 BHK Calicotta marble estate as an absolute pity gift. Tingo is trapped in a massive luxury nightmare, and it's caused entirely by a beverage's unfathomable wealth.
And guys, it really is a nightmare. Tingo is pacing frantically across his marble balcony, his translucent wings just trembling. He tells the otters that highly volatile Jupiter gas is actively escaping the house. If even a single molecule touches the open atmosphere, it triggers a city-sized cosmic storm. Now Pihu just scratches an ear and goes, well, if it leaks out and disappears, won't the big guy be happy it's gone? But Tingo is terrified because Gunareth's exceptionally well-trained butlers spot literally everything, and they will instantly see the destruction from his mesosphere palace window. So the engineers ask, well, why is a happy Gunareth a bad thing? And Tingo has to remind them that a happy, excited, sentient coffee is basically an apocalyptic scenario. The guy has 0 impulse control. If he sees a 12 bhp vaporize, he'll actually celebrate because he considers it a poor property.
In his excitement, he might accidentally press the cosmic panic button that floods the entire world with premium espresso, and he won't even care because he casually keeps a dozen backup copies of Earth in his storage closet anyway.
And you really have to ask why this house is filled with this dangerous gas in the first place. Well, according to the text, this entire structural hazard, this volatile Jupiter gas dirt playground, was originally installed purely so Gunaref's pet worm John would be comfortable. And the kicker? John doesn't even live there anymore. The worm left to, and I am quoting the text directly here, find himself.
So the pressure is on. They have to clear the dirt without destroying the house. The lead otter engineer confidently pulls out an ultra-rare deep-sea cosmic sponge from his tool belt, which is rumored to be capable of absorbing entire black holes. Pu proudly goes, "Watch and learn, Pixie." They toss it right onto the swirling purple vortex of Jupiter dirt, expecting this massive slurp. And absolutely nothing happens. The space dirt completely ignores the sponge. It doesn't absorb a single atom. The otters just gasp. Tingo puts his hands over his eyes. We are literally witnessing elite engineering degrees from the Kelp Library failing in real time.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the physical reaction of the space dirt itself. As they're all just standing there, a bizarre, heavy energy radiates from the mud. The otters and Tingo actually feel a palpable sensation of utter stubbornness and radiating disgust. The mud is actively turning its nose up at mortal engineering.
But then, the most bizarre chemical reaction in the history of science takes place. Because the space dirt was kept in Gunareth's presence for just one single fleeting second while it was being teleported into the estate, the atoms were instantly inoculated with his extreme cosmic snobbery. It caught his attitude. So when those microscopic lower middle-class otterpox particles drift off Pihu's fur, the dirt realizes it's near a peasant virus. In absolute aristocratic panic and pure disgust at poorness, it shrinks into a diamond-hard speck of pure offense, bypasses the atmosphere completely before the butlers can spot a storm, and just flees to find a country club.
Once Pihu realizes exactly what's happening, he looks at his spots, looks at the terrified billionaire space soil, and just flashes this chaotic, toothy otter grin. He says, "Oh, so you think you're too good for the trenches, huh?" With absolute chaos in his eyes, he shakes his fur aggressively, sending a massive cloud of invisible otterpox particles straight into the grand foyer, completely clearing the house.
So the world was saved from a catastrophic coffee flood. Tingo lets out this massive sigh of relief, and there's this great celebration in the spotless 12 BHK grand foyer. But it lasts for exactly 10 minutes. And then the pacing of the text just abruptly shifts to pure horror. The sky outside turns a terrifying, bruised shade of purple. An earth-shaking rumble vibrates through the Calicut marble floors. Tingo's pixie wings lock up midair. The four otters utterly freeze, and their clams literally slip from their paws right back into the infinity pool.
Way up in the mesosphere, Gunareth didn't actually notice the dirt was gone. But he had just looked at the official administrative ledger of the Great Otter Society, and he was absolutely furious that only 3 otters passed. Because to this unfathomably wealthy sentient coffee, this was an insulting display of inefficiency. You see, he originally wanted 92 personal butlers. Then he shifted it to 143, but midway through the crisis, he changed his mind again, demanding exactly 119 butlers for maximum elite exclusivity.
And to get those missing butlers, Gwyneth tried to bribe the universe itself using a sum of incomprehensible currency. But his requirements were just totally impossible. He demanded a PhD in cosmic etiquette, the ability to polish gold in zero gravity, and a family lineage tracing back to a dying star. He literally broke the economy of existence because reality itself just did not have the budget for that level of pretentiousness.
So who actually pays for his staffing shortage? We do. Swiveling furiously in his floating throne, the angry cup of coffee looks at his remaining staff and delivers this genuinely chilling quote. "Go destroy the AMOC. If the Earth can't even produce competent labor, the Earth doesn't deserve luxury weather."
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the danger in this text. The highly disciplined butlers don't even hesitate for a second. They step right up to the planetary controls and take hold of the massive celestial stirring rod. In a single sweeping motion, they violently disrupt the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. The entire ocean's conveyor belt, the absolute crucial global current regulating the planet's climate, is instantly shattered into chaotic, freezing stagnation. Down in the mansion, the realization hits them hard. Pihu shivers as the indoor temperature rapidly plummets. He clutches his favorite pebble tightly, realizing the crushing truth. The exams were a trap all along. If they failed, they were evicted. But because they passed and too few made the cut for Gunaret's constantly shifting butler count, the coffee just went ahead and broke the planet's climate anyway.
Tingo just stares out the window as the horizon literally begins to freeze over. He miserably pulls a tiny winter coat out of his pixie pouch as the water in the indoor infinity pool instantly turns to solid ice. He sighs. Welcome to being friends with Gunarith. The text makes it incredibly clear the story definitely did not end well. They saved the house, sure, but the Great Otter Society is now facing a sudden, apocalyptic ice age.
Which leaves us with this final, massive question, based on what we've read in the text today. When your landlord is an infinitely rich, sentient cup of coffee who can just casually break the economy of existence over a staffing tantrum, does the apocalypse ever truly end? Can you ever actually win? Think about the unfathomable stakes of this universe the next time you're drinking your morning brew. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning everything.